I think everything's recording, so let's get started. As I'm saying, this is one of these recipes that have brought people together or break them up. You know, this is a life-changing recipe because it's very fast. It comes together pretty fast, I would say. And it only requires, dozens of ingredients that you would never have if you're living in France. But they were using mi-ferme. We're mid-ferme tofu. This is actually softer tofu than I wanted. I actually really enjoy eating like eating hard tofu, like the ones that you usually make, put into hot pots or you freeze. But this, I don't know, I kind of like the texture of that, so there's that. You know what, I probably should have just used scissors to open it. I'm going to pre-boil my tofu. So the purpose of this process is not really to cook the tofu, because quite honestly, not as if this isn't a secret, tofu is already cooked, so that is not the purpose of that. The purpose is to, let's say, to get rid of some of the grassy notes, like grassy flavors that comes from the tofu making process. And please don't mind the little bit of uncleanliness of my kitchen. We're basically making a brine for the tofu, so that tofu can soak in it, absorb some flavors, and it does make the difference. I have tried many different ways. I have tried to do the A/B test to see if it makes a difference, and in fact it does, so you have to trust me on this one. I'm going to make how much, what is the amount of tofu here? 500 grams of tofu, and it should be okay for 3 portions, 3 or 4 portions even, who knows. I do eat a lot of tofu for each serving. I eat very little rice. And there's that. Just gonna chop up the tofu in the shape that I want, which is not too big, not too small. Just going to put it in the soy sauce water. I feel like, who's this YouTuber guy? Like the famous chef, Kenji Lopez?
Yeah, right.
So now I have the other ingredients gathered. This is ground beef. It's around, I would say 200 grams, or maybe a little bit less. Doesn't matter, because I wouldn't say the beef is the main ingredient of this dish. Of course, you will need some type of protein, some type of fat. And even if you want to make it vegetarian, I think you can by simply using just tofu. So as you can see, I chopped up some garlic. These are around 5 or 6 cloves of garlic. I mean, you can always add more or less if you want more or less garlic flavor. For me, it goes really well with the chili paste that we're going to use, so there's that. And just some ginger. You don't really have to add ginger, it's completely optional, and some recipes would even suggest you not to put it because it's not in the traditional Mapo Tofu recipe, but for me it works really well. I like ginger and everything. I even put ginger in my morning smoothie.
Who gives a fuck?
And now we can chop up some green onion. You can use around this much. I would say this is about, let me see, 100 grams or about 30 grams. We're mostly going to be tasting the green part because you're going to put it right before you take it out of the pan, so it's mostly for the color. You would not taste that much of a difference even if you don't put it. You can probably find the long green onion one. Just you julienne it in a way and put it in substitute as green onion. I think it should work perfectly as well. So now, as you can see, I have chopped up my garlic, ginger, green onion, the white parts and the green parts separately, so we can conveniently use them when we want. And now the next ingredient is the Thai bird eye chili. These are pretty spicy, so you can add it as much as you want, but for me, of course, this dish should be spicy. So I'm going to be adding 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And I will also add 1 dried pepper, because dried pepper has a bit of a, I don't know how to describe this, of a smoky kind of taste to it, flavor. So I will have to add 1 or 2, depends on the size of the chili. You don't have to add it. Some people, I believe Munchie's recipe, my favorite YouTuber Munchie, the Korean lady who basically saved my life by introducing very good ingredients to me.
This is soju.
in her recipe, I think she uses gochugaru. She uses non-spicy chili powders, I believe. Or she uses bell peppers as well. I'm not going to go that crazy. I'm not going to go that wild. I will still somewhat stick to the original recipe. So I'm going to be using burnt chili. You can use any type of chili that you want. Your goal is to make it a bit more spicier than your usual Chinese cooking. So, you know, this dish is known for that. And I'm just going to roughly chop into small pieces to use. Now the spices are chopped. You know, a very simple trick to make them less spicy is by just simply patting them like this with your knife, and to get rid of the seeds. And the seeds are what make them really spicy. And I also learned from Hot Thai Chicken, Pai Lin from Hot Thai Chicken, is that you can put them in the water, and you can just basically do this action to rub them a little bit, and it will get rid of the seeds as well. I don't need to get rid of that much seed. This is just for demonstration. So yeah, there's that. By the way, as I said, I'm going to be adding dried peppers, but it seems like I only have very, very small chilies left. So yep. Also, this is one of these dishes that is pretty hard to make, in a sense that it will stink up your whole kitchen with spices. It will be very spicy, your eyes will hurt and stuff. So what I do is I don't really fry the chilies anymore. I used to be very methodological with these things. Like, you know, you have to fry up the chili to get the capsaicin, salt in the oil, all that. I don't really care anymore, to be honest with you. I just want to get it done. Most of the times when I'm cooking, I'm just cooking after work. I'm pretty tired, so I just need to get food in my mouth with the proximity of the flavor that I wanted. So I promise it will be delicious because of the ingredients that we're going to use. And speaking of ingredients, these are almost all the ingredients that you would need, except for the four most important ingredients. First of all, you will also need dried Sichuan peppercorn, of course. Yeah, so they're like this. You will need a lot of them, so I would just suggest you to prepare a whole bag. And also, you will need this, which is called, in English, what is it called? Chili bean sauce. Sauce pimento. Alright, so it's basically Doubanjiang, right? Doubanjiang is a spicy chili paste. So if you can't find it, you can technically use miso as well. Miso. For this recipe, I'm going to be using both. I'm going to be adding miso and chili bean sauce, spicy chili bean sauce, let's just say, because this is spicy and this miso has more of an earthy flavor. So I'm going to, let's just say the ratio is 2-to-1. So 2 portions of chili bean sauce and 1 portion of miso, because it will create a bit more of a complexity for your flavor. And lastly, you will need potato starch or cornstarch. I'm going to be using potato starch because I have a whole bag. And it doesn't matter if you use cornstarch or potato starch. I don't really know the difference, to be honest with you, so I'm not going to be talking too much about it. Of course, you're not going to be using this much, but I accidentally spilled some, and it doesn't matter. I want to use them up as fast as I can. I probably would make jellies in the future with them. Not jellies, what do you call them? Like liangfen. But let's see. You're going to just mix it roughly like this, and they're going to condense at the end. It's not going to be completely dissolved. It doesn't matter because you're going to be using the slurp. What do you call this? Like starch slurpee? Starch slurp? What do you call this? I forgot the word. At the very end. So you just have to roughly mix it and put it aside. You do not put cornstarch directly or any type of starch directly to hot water because they're going to gel up and there is just no way that you can save it at the end. My rice is cooked, so I'm just going to put it aside. Okay, now we're ready to cook and our tofu is already soaked. See, the colors have changed drastically, I would say. So it's way more appealing than having white tofu. Especially when you're making a spicy dish, and of course there is a place for white square shaped tofus in the kitchen, but not for this one. I just say something completely useless. Sometimes, you know, when you're recording something, you would want to act like other YouTubers or other, what do you call this, like other content creators, sorry to use that word, but that's not something that I would normally say. Just forgive me. Alright, add the oil. By the way, this dish does require a lot of oil, but my version, I tend to go easier with oil. Let's just start cooking. I put the stove temperature to the highest because my stove top does not heat up really well, and this, you're never going to get the wok flavor, but hey, you do what you can. And this is a lot of meat actually. What you're going to do is basically to dry up the moisture from the meat. So you have to put the meat before the garlic because garlic will burn in the process of drying out the meat, drying out all the moisture. And I could technically wait for oil to heat up and then put the meat, but honestly it doesn't matter. And to be honest with you, usually if I'm cooking it for myself, I will do this process first, and meanwhile I will chop up the garlics and the rest of the chilies and stuff. So, you know, this is actually a pretty good dish to do in the weekdays because it comes together really fast. Yep, so you see all the moisture, it will dry up a little bit. So you would know the meat is dry, or the moisture is dry, when it starts sizzling. And now you see the big bubbles, they're basically water being evaporated. That is not scientifically true, but believe me. And meanwhile, I can be drinking my tea. It's pretty good tea actually. I'm drinking Relax. It's called Relax. I don't know what this really has. I think it's like a
calcium propionate to maintain freshness. Ammonium sulfate.
Yeah, you see? You start hearing the sizzling sounds, and that means we're almost ready. And now we can add the ginger first, because ginger does not burn very easily, and you will immediately start smelling the difference. I just hit the microphone, sorry. I just love the smell of ginger. Did I tell you I put ginger in my morning smoothie? I did? Good. The garlic. I'm gonna just add all of it, it's fine. Some people add some at the end to keep the fresh garlic flavor. I don't mind. And now we can add our chili paste. Again, I'm going to add a spoonful. What is the quantity of the spoon? I don't know. You can just eyeball it. Just eyeball it. What you're going to do is basically to fry up the red oil, infuse the chili paste or chili oil to your oil that draw from the beef and the olive oil that we use. Alright, some people are very particular about oil, by the way. Especially last time I posted something, I forgot what did I post, maybe the egg cleanse recipe, and people were mad. Not people, I mean like a couple of my friends were like, why do you use olive oil? Chinese cooking cannot use olive oil. Like, I don't care. Like, I use what I can, you know. Life is hard. I don't want to create barriers for myself not to do something. And if I have olive oil, if I want to cook, I'm going to cook it. And you should too. Right. I think it's almost done. The flavors are amazing. Let's just put the green onion. And I think it's time to add Sichuan peppercorn. I'm going to be adding a lot, by the way, and I'm not going to grind it because I do like having big chunks of Sichuan peppercorn and the final product. If you're bothered by that, you can grind it. can use coffee grinder or you can use modern pestle. You will pay more attention to your food if you have Sichuan peppercorn. And now I actually do enjoy chewing on it, so it adds a different layer of fun. Okay, I think these are done. I can smell the chili paste now. It is smelling beautifully. And now let's just add the chilies. And your kitchen will smell like hell for a minute. And as I said, I do not enjoy torturing myself with chili flavor or chili spiciness, so I'm just immediately going to add the water and let it cook. Let it simmer. I added hot water, by the way. I am going to be adding a little bit of freshly ground black pepper because I think black pepper gives a different type of spiciness. And I think the colors are nice, but I think we do need a little bit of dark soy sauce. Dark soy sauce. We're not going to be adding light soy sauce because it already has a lot of umami flavors from the miso and the black bean paste. A lot of salt basically, so you would not need it. And adding dark soy sauce would immediately add a bit of a, well, dark colored, but it also makes it, gives it a bit of a, what do you call this, like a molasses kind of flavor. I don't know how to describe this, but I think people call it like molasses flavor, so that's something nice to have. And now I'm going to add my miso. And the miso is pretty difficult to dissolve, so you would probably need a little bit more water than that. So I will need around half a spoon, maybe a little bit more, of miso. And some people say that you shouldn't cook miso for too long to keep the medicinal benefits and stuff. But this dish obviously is not any sort of Chinese medicine. Or unless you're having, you know, bowel issue, because this will clean up your bowel for good. That I'm sure. I will be regretting making this by tomorrow morning. That I'm pretty sure. We can now add a little bit of an MSG, because being the Chinese person that I am, I will add a little bit of MSG. Why not? Gives complexity again. Good, but I do want a little bit more sauce, because the sauce will stick to the rice and make rice very delicious. Okay, let's taste the saltiness. Should be okay. It should be, by the way, a tip, it should be saltier than you expected in this process, because once you add the Slurpee, and you're going to be adding a lot of Slurpee and tofu, it would be diluted a little bit. Perfect. And now we can add our tofu. Okay, let's rinse a little bit first. And once you add the tofu, you can just slowly stir it with the back of your spatula like this to cover it with sauce. And by the way, this is mid-soft tofu, mid-hard tofu, so you can actually do whatever you want with it. If it's a soft tofu, especially with egg tofu, which is one of my favorites with Mapo Tofu, by the way. We used to have a very good restaurant next to my middle school. We used to eat it all the time. That was a pretty good memory that I had, eating soft tofu.
Who gives a fuck?
Right? Now, what we're going to do is just going to mix up the Slurpee again, like this. Add them little by little. You're going to be adding the Slurpee 3 times, so don't add all of them at once. So first time we add the Slurpee, and then, okay, now you see I added a little bit too much, so it will become sticky. Doesn't matter. We have enough sauce, and now we turn off the heat and add the green onions. The second Slurpee should be thinner, just a little bit. Remove from the heat. And the third, we're going to use the little bit thin Slurpee to give a little bit of a sheen. Now, add a little bit of oil just to give a shine. And that's it.